This is huge. This is probably the biggest game change in user acquisition strategies for 2024.
This is actually very, very important. Finally, YouTube will be showing an ATT prompt, which asks iOS users to allow themselves to be trapped on the YouTube mobile app. Starting in June, according to the Google App Store lead on LinkedIn, they will be pushing the one-time permission prompt, asking for users to comply with Apple's ATT. Now, historically, YouTube has been the exception. It's one of the few advertising apps that has not pushed the ATT prompt, allowing users to be tracked. Now, what is the implication of this? If you cannot be tracked, the traditional MMP does not show where the install comes from in the channel. This makes doing an ROI analysis on your channel very, very difficult. And so now that they're pushing this prompt, we will sort of normalize attribution to the other SANS networks, which is a huge deal. Notably, not all users will see this prompt. So if you pay for YouTube Premium, you won't see this prompt because there's no ads, as well as children who are not supposed to be tracked will not have ads. So that's the high level. I have some metrics here, but Warren, what do you think? It's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah, this is huge. This is probably the biggest game change in user acquisition strategies for 2024. And we are waving the flag. Free advice here from Uptick. It is time to start testing on Google iOS for your user acquisition again. So to kind of restate some things that Xander said and kind of provide some insights from what we're seeing as a team, you can measure stuff on Google iOS again. It is not perfect, but we're going from kind of being totally blind to getting maybe a relatively 20% opt-in, which is more akin to what we see on a channel like Facebook. Like on Uptick side, we build automated models to work off of that. It's like there's enough to work off of now so you can directionally measure what's working and not working from a ROAS and general performance standpoint on Google. So this is huge. I've been kind of beating the drum, talking to a lot of our partners about scaling back up on Google iOS. We're really liking the initial results. So we're creating more competition from ourselves by doing this advice, but I know that's why you guys listen in, is to hopefully get tips like this. The caveats are that you still have to do some kind of modeling. It is not perfect, and Google's algorithm is still going to do the wild stuff that it always does, but you should have enough clarity and there is enough of a dip in competition versus Google iOS, say 5 years ago, that you'll probably like the results that you'll get if you can properly model them out.
Yeah, just to quantify it, see what I did there? Just to quantify it a little bit, what we've seen historically is, an opt-in rate on the Google channel, I think you mentioned this earlier, could be as high as 1 out of 50 to 100 people opt in to be tracked.
Even worse. Yeah. I saw 1 out of 300 in some of our games.
Okay, so I looked at a little bit, some of our data earlier today. I saw that was sort of the general box of range, but the high level note is basically no one opts in for tracking, and especially because YouTube represents a huge portion of the mobile ad inventory, that it's a tiny fraction. And when you compare it to a SANS network, self-attributing network, someone like Meta, like you referenced, it's closer to like 6 to 7 to 1. And, if you go to a channel that uses probabilistic attribution, something like Unity or IronSource, you're more like 1 to 1. And so the delta in how much is going to be tracked here is huge. That gives us a lot of more insight and gives us a lot more confidence and capability scale. So I'm very excited to see how this plays out. And, hopefully we can have a new marketing lever, which has been a big gap for quite some time since ATT rolled out a couple years ago.
Should be good for Google's ad revenue as well, because they're basically opening up the performance segment on iOS that they've been missing out on for a while. So good tip probably for next quarter's Google earnings.
There you go. Hot take.
As always, the pod was brought to you by our team here at Uptick. We do games growth. We build software to automate and streamline all aspects of that. And we do all the work. We design the creative, manage paid UA, work with KOLs and influencers, and provide all the analytics, all the moving pieces around games growth. So if you're building a sweet game and need good folks to help you scale it, reach out to us through our website. That's uptick.com, upptic.com.